When you finally choose yourself, something powerful shifts inside you. For the first time, you stop begging the world to see your worth. You stop waiting for others to validate your existence. You stop handing over your peace like a gift to those who never valued it. Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of survival. It is the decision to no longer abandon your soul for the comfort of others. For years, you've been taught that putting yourself first is wrong, that prioritizing your peace is arrogance, that walking away from people who drain you makes you cold. But this is a lie that keeps you trapped in cycles of self-neglect. The truth is, choosing yourself is the only way to truly honor life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The moment you choose yourself, you begin to reclaim that power. You stop being a slave to the opinions, moods, and expectations of others. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You'll feel guilt for saying no. You'll feel the weight of people's disappointment when you refuse to be who they want you to be. But that discomfort is not wrong, it's transformation. You are shedding a version of yourself that lived for approval. You are learning how to stand alone. And though it feels like loss, it's actually liberation. The Stoics taught that we are not disturbed by things, but by our perception of them. When you choose yourself, your perception changes. You begin to see that peace doesn't come from being loved by others, it comes from being aligned with your values. You stop seeking to be understood and start seeking to understand yourself. You stop chasing love and start embodying it. You stop proving your worth and start protecting it. This choice will test you. The world will not applaud your solitude. People will say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have changed. You are no longer the person who sacrifices your mental health to keep others comfortable. You are no longer the one who apologizes for existing differently. You have stepped into a rare kind of strength, the strength to walk alone with peace instead of together in chaos. There will be moments of silence, days when you miss the noise of old connections, nights when loneliness whispers that maybe you made a mistake. But that's when you must remember, solitude is not emptiness. It's the space where your soul breathes again. It's where you rebuild your foundation brick by brick, thought by thought. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's what it means to choose yourself, to walk your path even when others don't understand it. When you finally choose yourself, you begin to attract peace. Not because the world changes, but because your energy does. You become grounded, intentional, and unbothered. You stop reacting to every storm and start observing it. You learn that silence is not weakness, it's power under control. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer please, you protect. You no longer perform, you exist. This shift is invisible at first, but soon the world begins to feel different. Opportunities align, toxic people fall away, and your confidence begins to grow from within. Choosing yourself means realizing you don't owe anyone your energy, especially those who misuse it. It means setting boundaries not from anger, but from clarity. It means saying no without guilt, walking away without bitterness, and loving without losing yourself. It's learning that peace is more valuable than popularity. It's understanding that growth often requires isolation. It's knowing that you can't heal in the same environment that broke you. And as you walk this new path, you'll start noticing something beautiful. You're no longer desperate. You no longer chase validation, attention, or affection. You become enough. You find stillness in simplicity. You start living for the man or woman in the mirror, not the crowd. That's when you realize, this is what freedom feels like. You may lose people, but you'll find yourself. You may lose comfort, but you'll gain clarity. You may lose approval, but you'll gain peace. The trade is always worth it. When you finally choose yourself above all else, life stops feeling like a constant battle for belonging. Instead, it becomes a journey of becoming. You stop waiting to be chosen, because you've already chosen yourself. When you finally choose yourself, the world around you doesn't immediately celebrate. It reacts. The moment you decide to prioritize your peace over pleasing others, people start to show their true colors. Those who benefited from your silence, from your constant yes, from your emotional availability, they begin to feel uncomfortable. They start to question your change, not because you've become worse, but because you've become harder to control. Choosing yourself has a price, and that price is misunderstanding. You'll be misunderstood by the very people you once sacrificed everything for. They'll call you distant, arrogant, selfish, or ungrateful. But remember this, the world is not used to people who refuse to be manipulated by guilt. When you start valuing your energy, you expose how little others valued it. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once said, "He who fears loss has already lost." When you choose yourself, you must be ready to lose people who never truly saw you. It's not an easy loss. You'll feel the sting of isolation. You'll question if you went too far. But choosing yourself is not about creating distance. It's about creating balance. It's about realizing that your mental peace is not negotiable. You can love people deeply and still refuse to let them drain you. You can care about others and still set boundaries. You can forgive without allowing repeated disrespect. This is what self-respect looks like: quiet, firm, and often misunderstood. There will be a phase where you walk alone. A space where you start to rebuild your identity without the noise of other people's opinions. In that silence, you'll start to meet the real you, the version that existed before the world told you who to be. It's an uncomfortable meeting at first. You'll face emotions you buried for years. You'll see parts of yourself you ignored to fit in. But that confrontation is sacred. It's how you begin to reclaim your life. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. And that's what this stage is about: mastery. You start mastering your thoughts, your impulses, and your reactions. You no longer give everyone access to your emotions. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You learn the power of walking away quietly. That's when real strength begins to grow. In your silence, in your restraint, in your refusal to participate in drama. But make no mistake, choosing yourself is not a comfortable path. It's not about glowing self-love quotes or easy affirmations. It's about difficult decisions. It's about walking away from familiar chaos. It's about declining invitations to pain you've outgrown. It's about leaving behind people who love the weaker version of you. You'll have moments where you crave the old you, the one who tolerated more, smiled through disrespect, and stayed to prove a point. But that person no longer exists, and that's the price of evolution. The Stoics believed that pain is not our enemy, attachment is. You suffer not because you lost something, but because you resist accepting that it's over. Choosing yourself requires acceptance. Acceptance that some chapters must close for new ones to begin. Acceptance that not everyone you love is meant to stay. Acceptance that sometimes solitude is safer than company. When you reach that understanding, pain no longer controls you, it transforms you. Slowly the noise fades, the expectations dissolve, and you start noticing peace, quiet, deep, unshakable peace. You begin to realize that peace isn't loud, it's calm. It's sitting with yourself without feeling restless. It's waking up without the weight of pretending. It's saying, I don't owe anyone my destruction. This peace comes only when you stop betraying yourself for acceptance. And here's the truth, not everyone will like this version of you. The ones who truly love you will adapt, but the ones who only used you will fall away. Don't chase them. Let them go with gratitude, for they taught you what you no longer need. Every goodbye clears the path for your rebirth. The Stoics would remind you, what stands in the way becomes the way. The pain of losing people becomes the foundation of your freedom. Choosing yourself means you finally see your worth clearly. You stop begging to be chosen because you know your value doesn't decrease when someone fails to see it. You stop apologizing for being different. You stop explaining your boundaries. You learn that silence speaks louder than explanations. You understand that peace doesn't need to be defended, it just needs to be protected. And then one day it all makes sense. You look back and realize that the people who left weren't losses, they were lessons. The doors that closed weren't rejections, they were redirections. You begin to thank life even for the chaos because it forced you to awaken. You start to understand that everything you lost while choosing yourself was never truly meant for you. That's when you finally feel it, freedom. Not the kind the world celebrates, but the kind that lets you sleep deeply at night. The kind that makes you smile in silence. The kind that doesn't need validation. You've paid the price, you've walked through the fire, and now you're unshakable. Because the truth is simple, when you choose yourself, you don't lose people, you lose illusions. And what's left is real. After you've chosen yourself and paid the price for it, something profound begins to happen. You start to rebuild. The old you has been burned down, and now you stand before the ashes of your past life with a choice. Will you rebuild the same version that once broke, or will you construct something new, something unshakable? This is the moment when solitude turns into strength, when silence becomes your teacher, and when peace begins to take root in your soul. At first, rebuilding feels strange. You're not the same person anymore. The habits that once defined you no longer fit. The people who once surrounded you have faded away. The routines that used to comfort you now feel meaningless. It's like waking up in a new life without a map. But that's the beauty of it. This time you get to choose who you become, consciously and intentionally. You're no longer living on autopilot. You're no longer existing to please or to prove. You are rebuilding from truth, not trauma. The Stoics often spoke of renewal through reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." That's what this stage is. You are the fire, and every piece of your pain becomes fuel. The rejection, the loss, the solitude, all of it feeds your transformation. You begin to see that nothing was wasted. Every wound was a teacher. Every disappointment was redirection. Every silence was an invitation to listen to your own voice. This phase demands patience. You can't rebuild overnight. Just like the strongest trees grow slowly, your new foundation requires time. You'll have days when you feel strong and days when you crumble. There will be mornings filled with confidence and nights filled with doubt. But through it all, you'll notice one difference. You no longer run from yourself. You sit with your emotions. You face your thoughts. You embrace the process instead of escaping it. That's real growth. During this rebuilding, you'll start developing new values that reflect your inner clarity. You'll realize that peace matters more than validation. Purpose matters more than popularity. Growth matters more than comfort. You'll stop craving the high of external approval and start seeking the calm of inner alignment. This is where you begin to live with intention. Every decision becomes conscious. Every choice becomes deliberate. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to it with wisdom. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." And that's a truth worth remembering. Rebuilding yourself is a slow, deliberate art. It's about adding discipline where chaos once lived. It's about creating habits that serve your highest self. You wake up earlier not because you have to, but because you value your mind. You choose solitude not because you're lonely, but because you've learned that stillness sharpens clarity. You focus on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your response, and you release everything else. As this new version of you takes shape, people will start to notice. They'll see a calmness in you that wasn't there before. You'll no longer react to insults, gossip, or manipulation. You'll stop explaining your peace to those who thrive in chaos. This calmness will confuse them because the old you would have fought back. But the new you understands that energy is sacred, and wasting it is no longer an option. That's what the Stoics meant when they spoke of mastering the mind. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about directing them toward purpose. In this rebuilding phase, you'll also discover the beauty of simplicity. You'll start decluttering not just your space, but your soul. You'll realize that you don't need much to be happy, just clarity, gratitude, and alignment. You'll stop chasing the illusion of more and start appreciating the quiet richness of less. The Stoics lived simply because they knew that freedom isn't found in possessions, it's found in detachment. You'll feel lighter as you release the unnecessary, whether it's toxic relationships, negative habits, or limiting beliefs. But the real transformation happens when you start trusting yourself again. You'll begin to listen to your intuition, that quiet inner voice that always knew the truth. You'll realize that you don't need constant advice or approval. You already have the wisdom within. You just needed the silence to hear it. You'll stop doubting your decisions because you'll finally be making them from a place of strength, not fear. And as this inner rebuilding continues, you'll start seeing life differently. You'll notice that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you create. You'll understand that boundaries are not walls, they're gates protecting your growth. You'll stop confusing loneliness with solitude, because you've learned that solitude is the soil of strength. You'll realize that happiness is not found in having everything, but in needing less. Then, something magical happens. You begin to radiate power. Not the loud, forceful kind, but the quiet, steady kind. People feel it when you walk into a room. They sense your energy, your calm, your certainty. You no longer need to prove your worth because your presence speaks for itself. This is the unshakable version of you, grounded, self-aware, and untouchable by chaos. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature, meaning living truthfully without resistance. And that's what you're learning in this rebuilding phase, to accept, to flow, to trust. You're realizing that every fall had purpose, every delay had direction, and every ending had meaning. You no longer question why things happened the way they did, you simply thank them for shaping you. By the end of this stage, you'll look around and realize that your life feels different. Not louder, not busier, but lighter. You'll have fewer people around, but deeper connections. Fewer distractions, but more focus. Less noise, but more meaning. You'll start to feel proud of yourself, not because the world approves, but because you finally do. And that's the moment when you know, the rebuilding was worth it. There comes a point in your journey when solitude no longer scares you. It strengthens you. The noise that once made you restless now feels unnecessary. The people you once chased no longer hold power over your emotions. You have crossed the stage of pain and rebuilding, and now, You stand at the threshold of something rare, unshakable peace. This is not arrogance. This is not detachment from life. This is inner mastery, the very essence of stoicism and self-respect. When you become unshakable, you stop reacting to the world and you start responding from within. The world may still be chaotic, but inside you there's stillness. The storms may come, but they don't move you the way they once did. You have learned to remain calm in the face of uncertainty, to hold yourself together when everything around you is falling apart. And that, Ali, is power, the kind of power no one can take away from you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Becoming unshakable means living by this truth. You understand that you cannot control other people, but you can control your reaction to them. You cannot dictate the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Life will continue to test you, betrayals, losses, disappointments, but they no longer break you. They simply remind you of your strength. At this stage, you start to master your emotions. You no longer allow temporary feelings to make permanent decisions. You feel deeply, but you don't drown in those feelings. You experience pain, but you don't let it define your life. You've learned that emotional control is not suppression, it's awareness. You don't fight your emotions, you understand them. You don't run from discomfort, you study it. That's the discipline of the Stoic mind, to observe your thoughts, not to become them. Becoming unshakable doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care wisely. You care without attachment. You give love, but you don't lose yourself in the process. You show kindness, but you don't tolerate disrespect. You help others, but you never sacrifice your peace to save someone who refuses to swim. You understand now that boundaries are not walls, they are gates that protect your energy from being misused. In this phase, silence becomes your ally. You stop explaining your growth. You stop defending your peace. You realize that peace doesn't need justification, it just needs protection. People might still try to test you, trigger you, or misunderstand you, but your response changes. You don't fight back with words anymore, you let your calmness speak. That calmness is your new armor. The Stoics often compared the wise man to a rock that the waves constantly strike, but it stands firm and still. You become that rock. The waves of life no longer shatter you, they shape you. Every challenge now becomes an opportunity to practice resilience. Every insult becomes a chance to practice patience. Every loss becomes a lesson in letting go. You no longer see obstacles as punishment, you see them as preparation. And as you embody this calm strength, people start to notice the shift. They can't quite explain it, but they feel it. You don't speak much, yet your presence demands respect. You walk with quiet confidence, not because you think you're better, but because you've faced your worst and survived it. You've met your demons and now they work for you. That's what it means to be unshakable, to be at peace even with your darkness. There's also freedom here, a deep kind of freedom that no amount of money, fame, or validation can buy. You're free from overthinking, free from guilt, free from the need to prove. You've stopped being addicted to external approval. You've detached from outcomes. You've learned that your worth is not tied to success or failure, but to your ability to remain centered regardless of both. You now move with a kind of grace that only comes from inner balance. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." You understand this now. You've stopped wasting time on things that don't matter. You no longer argue to be right. You walk away to stay peaceful. You no longer beg for love. You give it to yourself. You no longer chase happiness. You create it in the small, quiet moments. A morning routine, a breath of gratitude, a moment of stillness. You've simplified your existence, and in doing so, you've amplified your peace. But here's the most profound truth. Being unshakable doesn't mean you don't feel pain anymore. It means pain no longer controls your actions. It doesn't mean you don't face problems. It means problems no longer consume your spirit. It's not that the world becomes easier, it's that you become stronger. The Stoics didn't seek a painless life, they sought a powerful mind. And that's what you've built, a mind that cannot be broken by circumstances. This strength radiates through everything you do. You begin to inspire others without trying. Your presence becomes healing for those who are lost. People sense your calm energy and wonder how you maintain it. But they don't understand the fire you walked through to reach this peace. They don't see the nights you spent alone, the battles you fought in silence, the choices you made that cost you everything but gave you yourself. You've become unshakable not because life got easier, but because you stopped running. You faced your fears, you endured your loneliness, and you found yourself. You've reached a state where you no longer need to chase the storm, you are the calm within it. You are no longer defined by your past or your pain, you are defined by your peace. And as you stand here, calm, clear, and complete, you realize the truth. Being unshakable is not about never falling. It's about always rising. Every time life knocks you down, you rise with more wisdom, more clarity, more self-respect. You rise not to prove your strength, but to live it. Because in the end, the unshakable mind is not born from comfort. It's forged in solitude, strengthened by pain, and polished by peace. When you finally reach the stage where peace becomes your power, everything about you changes. Not just how you act, but how you think, how you speak, and how you see the world. You no longer look for power and control, attention, or dominance. Your strength now flows from calmness, from clarity, from being centered no matter what happens around you. The very things that used to disturb you no longer reach you. You have transformed from a person who reacts to everything into someone who observes, understands, and then decides whether it deserves your energy at all. Peace doesn't mean everything around you is calm. It means you are calm despite everything around you. The Stoics believed that tranquility of the mind is the highest form of human strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." This is that moment where peace becomes not an emotion but a weapon. You use silence as your answer, patience as your protection, and self-awareness as your armor. In the earlier stages, peace felt distant, something you had to chase. But now it's the foundation of everything you do. You no longer rush. You no longer beg. You no longer try to prove anything to anyone. You move through life slowly but powerfully, like a mountain that remains unmoved by the winds. People can sense it. There's something about your presence that makes others lower their voice, reflect before speaking, and feel your stability even in their chaos. That's the influence of inner peace. It radiates. Peace becomes your power when you start choosing it over temporary emotions. You begin to realize that not every battle is worth fighting, not every insult is worth answering, and not every invitation to chaos deserves your attention. You've learned that silence often says more than anger ever could. You've realized that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And that forgiveness isn't about others, it's about freeing yourself. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. You finally understand that. You no longer try to control life, you master your reaction to it. Someone disrespects you? You let it pass because their behavior speaks about them, not about you. Plan fails? You adapt. A door closes? You look for the next. You no longer resist reality, you flow with it. And in that flow you discover peace. When peace becomes your power, even your goals change. You stop chasing things that disturb your soul. You no longer want a busy life, you want a meaningful one. You no longer crave noise, you crave stillness. You realize that peace is not the absence of ambition. It's the alignment of ambition with purpose. You still want success, but not at the cost of your inner calm. You still want growth, but not if it means losing yourself again. You've learned the art of balance, striving without stressing, growing without grasping. People around you will feel the difference. Some will admire you, others will be confused by you. They'll test your calmness, waiting for you to react the way you once did. But you don't. You've outgrown the need to prove yourself through arguments or explanations. You've learned that real power doesn't raise its voice, it simply stays grounded. That calm look in your eyes, that steady tone in your words, that patience in your responses, it's unshakable confidence born from peace. You'll notice that your relationships change too. You stop chasing validation and instead you attract authenticity. The people who thrive on drama will fade away, unable to match your frequency. The ones who bring peace will draw closer. Your circle becomes smaller, but it's filled with substance. Conversations shift from gossip to growth, from complaining to creating. You begin to connect only with those who value energy over attention. That's what peace does. It refines your environment. There's a quiet joy that comes with this stage, a feeling that you no longer need much to be happy. You start finding beauty in simplicity. A morning walk, a quiet cup of tea, the sound of the wind, the warmth of sunlight. You realize that happiness was never hidden in achievements, it was always in presence. The Stoics lived by this. They practiced gratitude daily, finding meaning in ordinary moments. And now, so do you. Gratitude becomes your daily ritual, and with every breath, you feel lighter. This peace also makes you fearless. When you stop depending on the world for happiness, the world loses its power over you. You no longer fear losing things, because your peace doesn't depend on them. You no longer fear people leaving, because you've learned to stand alone. You no longer fear failure, because you know it doesn't define your worth. You become free. And freedom, paired with peace, creates an unstoppable mind. But remember, peace isn't permanent unless protected. You must guard it like a sacred flame. Don't let gossip, overthinking, or toxic people blow it out. Choose your environment wisely. Protect your time like treasure. Keep your circle limited, your routine simple, and your thoughts clean. Every time chaos tries to pull you back, remind yourself, peace is power. And when you walk through the world with that peace, everything begins to align. Opportunities come to you without forcing them. The right people appear. The right ideas flow. Life begins to cooperate with your calmness. You finally understand that peace is not a weakness to be hidden. It's strength in its purest form. The Stoics would call this eudaimonia, a state of flourishing through virtue and wisdom. It's when you no longer live as a victim of circumstance, but as a master of perception. You become a lighthouse, silent, steady, and shining even in the darkest storm. So when peace becomes your power, you stop trying to control the world and instead, you master the only thing that ever mattered, yourself. You stop waiting for calm waters and learn to stay calm while sailing through the storm. And that's when you realize, peace is not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a new, higher way of living. Because once peace becomes your power, nothing and no one can take it away from you. There comes a time in every person's growth when the opinions of others lose their power. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens after you've been misunderstood too many times, judged for changing, and criticized for choosing peace. But once it happens, once you rise beyond the need for approval, a different kind of freedom begins to flow through you. A freedom that cannot be bought, taken, or shaken. You start to see how much of your life was shaped by invisible chains. How many choices you made to fit in. How many dreams you buried to be accepted. How often you said yes when your heart was screaming no. And it hits you, you were never living for yourself, you were performing for others. That realization hurts, but it also liberates. Because the moment you recognize it, you gain the power to stop. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most of your suffering came not from what people said, but from your own fear of what they might think. You created prisons in your mind made of other people's opinions. But now you're done. You've chosen to walk out of that prison, to breathe freely again, to live for your own approval, not the crowd's applause. At first it feels lonely. You're used to being validated, praised, noticed. You're used to people clapping when you succeed and comforting you when you fail. But now there's silence. And that silence can be terrifying, until you realize that it's peace disguised as emptiness. In that silence you find your real voice. You start doing things not because they'll be liked, but because they feel right. You start speaking truth even when it shakes the room. You begin to move differently, slower, more intentional, more authentic. You'll face judgment for this freedom. People who still live for approval will call you arrogant. Those addicted to validation will say you've become distant. But don't let their noise become your compass. Remember what Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Growth will always look strange to those who fear change. They'll mock what they don't understand, your calm, your silence, your detachment. But that's not your problem anymore. You've risen above their reach. When you stop needing approval, something shifts inside you, your confidence becomes pure. It's no longer borrowed from compliments or social media likes. It's built from truth. You stop chasing the spotlight and start creating your own light. You stop explaining your path to those who've never walked it. You stop being addicted to being understood. You realize that most people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves, and that's not your fault. This independence of thought is what the Stoics called autarkia, self-sufficiency. It doesn't mean isolation, it means inner stability. It's knowing that you can walk alone and still be complete. It's understanding that solitude is not punishment, it's clarity. It's realizing that your worth is not up for public voting. You stop outsourcing your identity. You become whole within yourself. And when that happens, you start making bold choices, the kind you were once afraid to make. You start projects without asking for validation. You take risks without waiting for approval. You speak truth without fearing rejection. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You say no when you need to. You say yes when you want to. Your actions come from alignment, not approval. People who once controlled you emotionally will notice the change. They'll see that guilt no longer works, manipulation no longer moves you, and criticism no longer crushes you. You'll see their confusion, because your peace disrupts their control. They used to feed off your insecurities, now there's nothing left for them to feed on. You've become immune to emotional blackmail. And that immunity is freedom. There's also a deep sense of relief in this phase. You no longer wake up wondering what others think of you. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop comparing your journey with theirs. You finally understand that everyone is walking their own path, and comparison only steals your peace. You learn to admire others without envy and to love yourself without guilt. You no longer chase validation, you generate it from within. The Stoics believed that the opinion of the ignorant is worthless to the wise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Think about that. You've spent years trusting the judgment of people who don't even understand their own minds. Now you know better. You trust yourself. When you rise beyond approval, even your failures look different. You stop seeing them as shameful and start seeing them as feedback. You no longer avoid mistakes, you learn from them. You no longer fear rejection, you see it as redirection. Every closed door stops feeling like an insult and starts feeling like guidance. That's when life becomes lighter. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop performing. You simply exist, honestly, boldly, peacefully. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing approval, you start attracting respect. People are drawn to those who are rooted in themselves. They may not always agree with you, but they'll admire your calmness, your conviction, your refusal to bend for acceptance. Your authenticity becomes magnetic. You inspire others not by preaching, but by being. This phase doesn't make you untouchable. It makes you real. You'll still feel emotions. You'll still care for others. But you'll no longer trade your self-worth for connection. You'll love people without needing them to complete you. You'll give without expecting. You'll speak your truth and let the world adjust. And that's when you understand what freedom truly means. Not doing whatever you want, but being whoever you are without fear. You stop being a product of opinions and become a reflection of truth. You stop living for applause and start living with purpose. You rise above judgment, above comparison, above noise. Because when you finally rise beyond approval, you don't become heartless. You become fearless. You don't become distant. You become free. And freedom, Ali, is the highest form of peace a human can ever experience. There is a silence that doesn't destroy you, it builds you. The world calls it loneliness, but the Stoics called it strength. When you finally choose yourself above all else, solitude stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like clarity. It's in that quiet space, away from noise, where you begin to understand who you truly are and who you are not. Most people run from solitude because it forces them to face themselves. It strips away distractions, reveals the truth behind their thoughts, and exposes how much of their identity depends on others. But those who learn to stay with themselves, to sit in silence, to think deeply, to reflect, they find something that most never will: self-mastery. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And you can't master yourself when you're always surrounded by noise. You can't discover your values when you're constantly absorbing others' opinions. Solitude becomes the forge where your spirit is refined, where your vision is sharpened, and where your strength is reborn. When you start spending time alone, something begins to shift inside you. At first it feels heavy. You'll feel disconnected. You'll question yourself. Am I missing out? Am I too distant? But stay. Don't run back to noise. That discomfort is transformation in disguise. The mind that once needed distraction begins to adapt to silence. The heart that once depended on others learns to beat on its own. Soon your solitude becomes sacred. It's where you think clearly, breathe deeply, and reconnect with your purpose. You begin to notice how peace feels. Not temporary peace, but peace that doesn't depend on anything external. The peace of a man or woman who knows they are enough. In solitude you stop performing. There's no one to impress, no expectations to meet, no masks to wear. You return to your natural state, honest, raw, human. You begin to observe your thoughts like a Stoic philosopher would, calmly, without judgment. You see your fears, your insecurities, your desires, and instead of running from them, you start to understand them. That's when you grow powerful. Because power doesn't come from dominance or fame, it comes from understanding yourself so deeply that no one else can shake your center. When you know your triggers, your weaknesses, your patterns, you can control them. You stop reacting impulsively. You start responding intentionally. You stop being pulled by emotions and start guiding them with reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That's the essence of solitude, not isolation from the world, but connection to your inner fortress. The Stoics believed that the world outside will always be chaotic, but if you build strength within, the storms can rage and you will remain still. Think of solitude like a gym for your mind. Every quiet hour you spend alone strengthens your mental muscles. You train patience when the silence stretches too long. You train focus when distractions tempt you. You train discipline when your emotions demand attention. You train courage when fear whispers that you need others to survive. In time, that training creates a calm, grounded energy that others can feel. You'll notice it. When you walk into a room, you won't need to speak loudly to be respected. Your silence will carry weight because it's backed by depth. You'll start attracting peace because you've become peace. But solitude isn't just about stillness, it's about creation. It's in solitude that your best ideas are born. It's when you step away from the crowd that you begin to see patterns others can't. It's where you plan your next move, not from fear or competition, but from clarity. Great philosophers, artists, warriors, all had their seasons of solitude. They withdrew not to escape life, but to return stronger. And yes, people will misunderstand this phase. They'll say you've become distant, cold, too serious. But remember, they cannot understand what they have never experienced. They fear silence because they fear what it reveals. Don't let their noise pull you back. Let solitude refine you in private so your presence can speak power in public. During this phase, you'll also start to detach emotionally from chaos. Drama won't move you like it once did. Gossip will sound meaningless. Validation will lose its flavor. You'll no longer chase approval, you'll protect peace. You'll understand that not every battle deserves your energy, not every conversation needs your response. Silence becomes your response and peace becomes your priority. In solitude, you'll also meet your true ambition. Not the ambition to impress, but the ambition to evolve. You'll realize that success isn't about being seen, it's about being stable. You'll stop chasing crowds and start chasing depth. You'll no longer measure progress by recognition but by self-control. This is the point where your loneliness transforms into leadership. Because people follow those who walk alone first. You'll notice how your clarity begins to inspire others. Not because you sought their attention, but because you've mastered what they're still searching for: calm in chaos. You'll start to feel like a mountain, still, solid, unbothered by the storms around you. You'll see life differently. Problems become lessons, delays become redirections, and solitude becomes sacred space. This doesn't mean you'll isolate yourself from the world, it means you'll carry peace within you wherever you go. The greatest warriors, thinkers, and creators in history all shared one thing: comfort in solitude. They understood that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is emptiness, solitude is fullness. Loneliness says, "No one is here for me." Solitude says, "I am here for myself." When you reach this level of inner stillness, external chaos loses its power. The opinions of others, the noise of the world, the rush of society, all of it fades into the background. You become the calm center of your own universe. So take this time alone not as punishment but as preparation. Every quiet night, every lonely walk, every silent reflection, they are all sharpening your spirit. The world tests the strong in public, but it builds them in private. And when you finally return to the world after being refined in solitude, you will not be the same. You'll walk with composure. You'll speak with purpose. You'll love without losing yourself. You'll be unshakable, because your strength will no longer come from others. It will come from within. That's the paradox of solitude. The more time you spend alone, the more connected you become to everything that truly matters. When you finally choose yourself, not just once but every day, in every decision, in every moment, you reach a level of peace that few will ever know. You become untouchable. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've learned where to place your care. Not because you've become emotionless, but because you no longer let emotions control your path. You've built yourself so strong from within that no storm outside can move you anymore. This is the final transformation, when solitude, pain, rejection, and self-reflection all merge into one truth: you are enough. You stop fighting for space in other people's lives because you finally realize your own life is sacred ground. You stop seeking love from the outside because you have built it inside. You no longer crave validation because you have learned self-approval. That's when you become unshakable, not because life gets easier but because your roots grow deeper. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." And that's exactly what this stage teaches you. You stop wasting energy trying to change others. You understand that everyone is walking through their own version of awakening, and not everyone will rise at the same pace. So you let them be. You don't control, you don't beg, you don't chase. You stay grounded in your truth and allow the universe to align what's meant for you. When you choose yourself forever, you begin to operate from abundance, not desperation. You stop clinging. You stop overgiving. You stop trying to prove your worth. You know what you bring to the table, and you refuse to sit where peace is not served. You stop explaining your energy to those who cannot match it. You stop apologizing for evolving. You understand that distance is not disrespect, it's direction. You begin to see life from a higher perspective. The same situations that used to destroy you now barely disturb you. The insults, the rejections, the losses, they no longer define you. You've outgrown the need to be understood, to be liked, to be accepted. You move with grace, not reaction. You observe without absorbing. You listen without losing yourself. You love without attachment. And it's not arrogance, it's alignment. You've learned to guard your peace the way a warrior guards his sword. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your energy. You've learned that protecting your mental state is not selfish, it's survival. You've learned that boundaries are not walls, they're doors that only open for peace. The Stoics believed that power is not in controlling others but in mastering yourself. Seneca said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." You've become that warrior. The battles you now fight are not with people, they're with your own impulses, your own pride, your own ego. You no longer waste energy on petty conflicts. You save it for growth, creation, and purpose. And that's when life begins to align differently. You'll notice new people entering your life, calm, stable, wise souls who vibrate at the same frequency. You'll attract peace because you've become peace. You'll attract respect because you've stopped tolerating disrespect. You'll attract love that feels like freedom, not survival. The universe mirrors what you are, not what you chase. You become the person others look at and wonder, how are they so calm? How are they so unbothered? They won't know the battles you fought in silence, the tears you turned into strength, the nights you spent rebuilding your spirit. They'll only see the result, someone who walks like peace, speaks like truth, and moves like purpose. Being untouchable doesn't mean you never feel pain again. It means pain no longer owns you. It means when disappointment knocks, you don't collapse, you adjust. When betrayal happens, you don't seek revenge, you let karma do its work. When life delays you, you don't panic, you trust the timing. You've built so much trust in yourself and in life that even chaos feels like part of the plan. Choosing yourself forever is also an act of faith. Faith in your ability to stand, to rise, to rebuild. You stop needing to know how everything will unfold. You simply move with intention, patience, and self-respect. You know that what's meant for you will find you, and what's not will fade without your resistance. In this phase, you understand the true meaning of strength. It's not loud or aggressive. It's silent, steady, and certain. It's the strength of a river that carves through stone, not by force but by persistence. You no longer rush. You no longer beg. You no longer settle. You understand that your energy is your currency, and you spend it wisely. When you finally choose yourself, you no longer need to prove your worth to anyone, not family, not friends, not society. You stop trying to fit into molds you've outgrown. You stop arguing your value. You live it. You embody it. You let your silence speak louder than your explanations. You stop chasing closure and start giving it to yourself. You begin to realize that peace is not something you find. It's something you create by removing everything that doesn't serve your growth. You realize that happiness is not in things, people, or achievements. It's in alignment with who you truly are. You realize that success is not about being seen. It's about being stable, disciplined, and at peace with your path. And in that realization, you become untouchable, not because the world changes, but because you have. You've built yourself into a fortress, not one made of walls, but of wisdom. Not one built to keep others out, but to keep your peace in. You can stand in chaos and still feel calm. You can face rejection and still feel whole. You can lose everything external and still feel rich inside. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's your power now, the ability to revoke anything that steals your peace. You no longer let temporary people create permanent scars. You no longer let noise become narrative. You've taken your power back, fully, completely, unapologetically. So now you move differently, with grace, purpose, and quiet confidence. You speak less, listen more, and choose peace over validation. You walk away from chaos, not out of fear, but out of strength. You've learned that not every reaction deserves your energy, and not every presence deserves your attention. This is what it means to become untouchable, not above others, but above your former self. You've mastered the art of letting go. You've chosen peace over pride, solitude over chaos, and truth over comfort. You've chosen yourself, and you keep choosing yourself again and again every day. And that's where true freedom lives. Not in isolation, but in alignment. Not in rebellion, but in self-respect. Because when you finally choose yourself forever, no matter who stays, who leaves, or who misunderstands, you don't lose anything. You gain everything.